Welcome to part 2 of the Project 4 hint video. Basically, I'm showing you how I would do it. One thing I've done here is I've gone out and saved myself some brain power and just kind of Google these conversions. It's really easy to do. But let's go back to the form for a minute. Now, if they've got inches selected, then you need to look and see if they have inches selected here, feet selected here, yards selected here, okay? Then I'm just looking at this logically. Now, if they have feet selected, you still have to look to see what they have selected here, inches, feet, or yards. If they have yards selected here, you need to look and see if they have inches, feet, and yards here. Now, we can throw out, according to the text and common sense, if they're converting from and to the same units, there's nothing to do except display what they have here down here, okay? Or you could pop up a message box and say nothing to convert. I mean, it's up to you. I'm just going to go the easy way and stick it down in here and be done with it. So if you look at this, and notice I said if, okay? So this is going to be a series of nested ifs. You'll have 3 ifs here, or an if, else, else. And within each one of these, you're going to have to examine all 3 of these. So let's go back. So what I've done is I've broken this down in that way. So if they've got inches to inches, there's nothing to do. Okay, so I'm looking at the from and then the to. So if they've got inch selected on the left, the from, and they've got feet selected in the to, then there's 1 inch. 1 inch equals 0.08333 feet. All right, so those are my conversion factors. And I've got some constants, which are doubles for that purpose. And then I'm looking at feet in the from to. So 1 foot equals 12 inches. Feet to feet, there's nothing to do. 1 foot equals 0.3333 yards. So I've got some constants that show that. And I left a while for this. This is really just grudge work. You can get this on Google. There's nothing to it. 1 yard equals, so if I have yards in the from and inches in the to, then 1 yard equals 36 inches. Or 1 yard equals 3 feet. If it's yards to yards, there's nothing to do. So I broke these constants down so you can kind of see why I'm doing what I'm doing. I normally wouldn't do that. I mean, I just stick them all together and put some comments out beside them, but you know, for the sake of instruction, I did it this way. So that's the easy part. I mean, that's just Google. And then in my, down here in my try, the first thing I want to do is look and see if they've got the inches selected, which is at 0 index in the from list. Okay, so that's going to be the predictor here. So if I go back to my design view, if the index, selected index is 0, that means they have inches selected here. And inside that, I want to look at feet and yards. Inches to inches doesn't matter. I'm just going to do a copy. So I'm just going to set up the logic for you and see how far we get. So there's my if for my from list. That means it's inches, okay? So then in my to list, I've got to decide, you know, what I'm going to do. Now, I'm going to make some of this pseudocode. I'm not going to do the whole thing for you, but this is pretty much it, really. If list 2 units dot selected index is equal to 0, or equal 0, then that means inches is selected here too. And if that's the case, there ain't nothing to do except copy. And I've got a funky mouse going on here. I don't know why it does that. I'm just not used to this machine. All right. So if this is true and this is true, it's inches to inches, right? So I'm just going to copy the text. I don't have to do any conversions because the text for there's a text property for a text box and a text property for a label, so I just do an assignment. So I want to do label, excuse me. Label output dot text. I'm going to set that equal to text distance dot text. Pretty easy. And And that's going to be what you do every time you got two units that are the same. Well, what if this is, we'll be in here if this is inches, but what if this is not equal to 0? It means it's not inches. It's got to be something else. So else if, I keep forgetting there's a space in there, and I'm gonna go ahead and put my parens in. This would be copy, 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 copy. Paste. This would be 1 if it is 1. And what does that tell you? The 2 box is going to be feet, right? Feet is selected in the 2 box. So let me go ahead and put a comment up here to kind of help you out a little bit maybe. To list. All right. So for every selection in the from list, we got to look at the to list. There are other ways to do this. I mean, this is probably a little verbose, but it's just what came to my noggin, so that's what I'm going to do. All right. So if that's true, then we need to pull, we need to take this distance and either multiply or divide it by one of these constants up here, depending on what it is you're doing. So I'm just going to put a comment in here. Do conversion. Because what we're doing here is what? We're doing inches to feet. All right. Well, if it's not inches and it's not feet, it has to be what? Yards. So we don't need to do another Boolean comparison. We're just going to do this because we know what it has to be. Do conversion. Oh man. And this would be what? It has to be yards, so yards to feet. Nope. Inches, feet, yards. Yards to inches. Sorry. Make sure I didn't screw something up here. Inches is selected, so that's inches to inches. Nothing to do. Go ahead and put that in there. Except, copy the output from one control to the other. This is feet to inches. Excuse me, inches to feet. Because we're going from the from list to the to list. And if they've got this selected, then it's going to be inches to yards. Inches to yards. All right, now you can code this. It's not that difficult. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy, now that I've got this one set up, because for every selection here, we have to look at the 3 selections there. I'm going to copy this and just kind of modify it a little bit, hopefully. And this will be an else if. I just pasted it. If index is 1, that means in the from box, we have feet selected. And in the to list, it's the same thing, except here, it's inches to what? It's feet to inches, because they have feet in the outermost. So then here we got to do a conversion. So that's a little bit different. But here, oops, hang on, just did something stupid with this mouse. This needs to go down here because we're comparing feet to feet at that point. Right? So here we're going to do this. And that will be fine because there's nothing to do at that point. I need to put that up here. There is really something to do, nothing to do but copy. There. I'll save this puppy so if I won't lose it. Okay, so here we got inches, we got feet to inches, so do conversion feet to inches. Sorry, thought I had some comments in there. And then this will be feet to yards, because we, in the outermost here, we've got feet selected. This will be feet to yards. All right, so then we have, if the out in the from list, if it's not inches, it's not feet, it has to be yards, right? So there's really no need to do a comparison here. Just do an else. Put our brackets in. And I'm going to copy this. Stick that in there. Because you're always looking at the same three on the to list. All right. So if it's 0, it is yards to inches. Because our outermost would be yards, right? Whoops. Yards to inches. And this would be yards to feet. And there is something to do there. What did I just do? This mouse is just crazy. It's got a back button and a forward button on it. And I hate it. I have to get rid of it, or I'll be making this mistake all the time, and you won't like that. Yards to feet. And this goes down here because then it's yards to yards and there is nothing to do at that point. Yards to yards. And there's nothing to do but copy. Come on. Okay. And that's going to be out. That's going to be out. So we do the conversion, yards to feet. Now, hopefully I don't have any logic errors in here, but if I do, I'm sure you'll find them. But I believe I pretty much got it. And that's the code. All that's in our try catch. Now, you can finish this out. There is just not that much to do. So essentially, you'll either do some division or multiplication, depending on which way you want to do it. This time, say that constant, and then you'll take that number. So you're going to probably need an intermediate variable there. It's up to you. You'll convert it to string and stick it in the label output. That's it. It's really easy to do. So don't forget, you'll have to go from a number back to a string before you can put it in the label output .text, which is where your answer goes. And that's pretty much it. I think that's got it. You ought to be able to handle that now. So, just so you can see here, I'll see if I can't get it back up in the screen, kind of see what I did inside the try. We're always looking at the from list first. I guess you can go the other way, it's up to you, but how you want to do it. And then we're looking at the from list here. Feet is selected, else it's got to be yards, and we're always looking at all three of the others. And when it's one unit to the other, to the same unit, then you just copy text from the text distance that I called it into the label output, because this is exactly the same. If you want to put a message box in there saying, you know, units are equal, nothing to convert, or something like that, that's up to you. Alrighty. I hope that helps. Maybe I'll come up with some more here as we go along. See ya.